doesn't actually go by Lance Von Erich,
Oh,
other than when he does the odd wrestling appearance. But it's not like if you go see him in South Africa or Mexico, you're not meeting him as Lance Von Erich, right? He's not living in the past or anything. But
No.
people seem to get mad. Like, how could he still call himself a Von Erich? He's not a real Von Erich. Well, they're not Von Erichs either, right?
That was always my point.
They're Atkinsons.
Yeah, they were all a bunch of Texans from up North Texas, or a couple of them born up in New York, when Fritz was still working that direction. So they grew up as Texans, but I mean, they were, Atkinsons. That whole deal was Fritz had that territory programmed until there was 3 Von Erichs. That way he could always have the 6-man thing going on. And he started losing his sons, whether it was through dying with David or injuries with Kerry, and he needed a 3rd Von Erich, and they brought Lance in. Simple as that.
And how do you think he handled it for the time? And is he telling the truth when he's saying he was doing his bookings and he would often wrestle a second time
easily
because others that were supposed to show up didn't show up for whatever reason? So
100%. Absolutely. He carried that territory for 6 months. I could not tell you how many nights, and I wasn't on every show. I was on probably, in those days, I was probably on 80% of the shows for about a 6-month period, but there was 1 or 2, smaller shows that it just wasn't worth doing anything except, the core 8 guys, whatever. I can't tell you how many times he worked 2 and 3 times a night because Kevin couldn't make it, or Kerry was injured, or Mike was injured, and mainly because Kevin didn't make it. I mean, you knew Kerry and Mike were injured, but Kevin was supposed to be there and wasn't. Night after night after night. Yeah.
Do you think Kevin gets a pass sometimes because he survived? I know he's changed 100%. His ways, but like he wasn't too far off from the partying ways of the others.
Rest in those days. Everybody changes as they get older, whether it's for the better or for the worse. From everything I hear, he's much different than he was in those days, but he was no different than the others. He just survived.